Bilgehan Ozturk, who is a researcher at SETA, and he's joining me now from Ankara there. Well, thank you very much, Bilgehan, for joining us here. So, President Erdogan has accused the Syrian regime, Russian forces and the Iranian militia of a massacre in Idlib province. Does this suggest diplomacy is no longer working and it's over?
Well, that is the indication of President Erdogan just voicing a fact. That is the massacre of civilians. It has been like this for a while, but for the sake of keeping the Astana and the diplomatic process intact, Turkey had to deal with this situation through talks, through diplomatic attempts with its Russian counterparts. But it seems like Russian counterparts has a very different strategy, and they are not willing to or intended to convince Turkey and they achieve at least a consensus with Turkey. They are rather trying to force Turkey to accept their terms. That is what we are witnessing for a while. Remember the observation posts of Turkey. A number of them has been besieged by Syrian regime forces. So that was also an indication of the fact that things were not going well, with regards to Astana and Sochi memoranda. So, Russia's brinkmanship.
Bilgehan, it's quite upsetting because just when we thought a couple of months ago that all this fighting is nearly coming to an end, that was really the picture, and we're talking about nearly 10 years of civil war there. So what changed when it came to Idlib? Why now? Why with Idlib?
Because, yes, the two sides had agreed on certain terms. But Russia, because of the imbalance of power between Russia and Turkey, Russia is trying to force Turkey's hands. It is not intended to let's say treat an equal partner, Turkey. Yes, there were terms within the framework of such a memoranda, but let's say the presence of HTS. Yes, that was a commitment by Turkey's side. But it is nonsense to expect Turkey to dismantle or take care of HTS or deal with HTS whilst the indiscriminate airstrikes are going non-stop. And as the reporter just a minute ago mentioned the scorched earth strategy. This is making any sort of solution, either diplomatic or military engagement and the dismantlement of HTS impossible. It is basically targeting civilians and creating waves and influx of refugees, and it is basically trying to put Turkey in a very hard position and put up with it.
As we are talking about the humanitarian catastrophe there, we can remember that US envoy to Syria has just spoken, said Turkey sort of feels all alone in this humanitarian catastrophe. And looking at the US position here, Bilgehan, we can say in the war in Syria, we weren't quite sure about Trump's policy here, Middle East policy, when it came to Syria. But on these last few days, and looking at what the US envoy to Syria, James Jeffrey, is saying while he visited Ankara and spoke to authorities there, and it seems like the cooperation is intensifying.
Yes, definitely. It is a good sign that James Jeffrey and other US officials are sending the message of solidarity with Turkey. But we should also take this with a pinch of salt, because obviously their aim is also trying to make use of this opportunity, which is we are seeing some friction between Turkey and Russia, and obviously the United States has not been happy with this rapprochement between Turkey and Russia. Now there is an opportunity to exploit. Let's put it that way. Now they are also trying to make use of this to the greatest extent. But regardless of that aspect, it is a positive sign. But we should not expect any let's say meaningful or tangible military support from the United States. Other such as other United States officials such as O'Brien clearly indicated that U.S. is not intended or interested in any military commitment with regards to Idlib. So it is a positive sign that we are receiving those messages, supportive messages from U.S. But Turkey is in military terms to a great extent on its own. So in military terms, Turkey would have to deal with this situation on the ground with Syrian regime, via its own military capacity. We should not expect any U.S. military support there.
Bilgehan Ozturk, thank you very much for that.